Hello everybody, it is me, Bastet. It has been a while again, mainly because I'm working. I don't have much time to make and upload videos, especially since there's not much I'm playing that I can even upload videos on. But there's a new game that fairly recently came out that I've been enjoying a lot, called Vampire the Masquerade Bloodhunt, and I figured I'd make a couple of videos about it. So, without further ado, we'll jump into the first of these videos. It is going to be the Archetype tier list for solo. It's if you didn't know, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, Bloodhunt. Nope, it's not Bloodlines. It's Bloodhunt. Bloodlines is the RPG. Bloodhunt is the Battle Royale. It's a free-to-play Battle Royale. You can pick it up on Steam, and I think PlayStation 5. I do not believe it's on Xbox, though. But yes, it's free-to-play. It's quite fun. It's a third-person Battle Royale with vampires, and it's quite cool. And so we'll be talking about the different archetypes and their ratings for solo. I will also be making a video about the ratings for groups, because you can play in duos or trios, and duos and trios, they basically apply both the same to the archetypes, so the ratings will be the same. And I'm going to make I say ratings, but it's going to be a tier list. And then I'm going to make a tier list for the weapons, regardless of rarity, because there are different rarities of weapons. That being said, let's jump into the tier list. Let's see here. I believe it's Control-Shift-Z. Yes. So, first up, it's the Brute. Brute, for solo at least, goes into... It's between B and C tier. It's usable, but it's not great. And let's switch over to the actual game panel now, and so we can take a look at the Brute. So we've got the Brute. They are Bruja, which means they're going to have the Soaring Leap clan power. So I guess I'll do a quick overview first. They've got Soaring Leap, they've got their passive True Grit, and then they've got their archetype power Shockwave Punch. Oh my god. That's right. I turned off my desktop audio. An ad just popped up on the tier maker, Lamau. Anyways. So, the Brute. So, starting off, Soaring Leap. Soaring Leap is a really good power for traversing. But it does have the caveat of it's not very versatile, because it has a set trajectory. No matter where you're aiming, I mean, it'll shoot you in the direction you're aiming, but it has a set trajectory, as you can see in this video here. So if you're looking straight up, it's still going to put you at an angle. It's not going to just launch. It's not like a launch. It's got a trajectory, which is not very good. Okay, that's weird. So their power is quite good for traversing, but it's not very good in combat. And the reason that's important is you'll see why here. So let's move on to their passive. Their passive is quite good, especially early. Early in the game, first couple of minutes, you're still trying to find heals. You probably haven't drinking any sanguine blood. You might get into some fights. And so the ability to, regain health, up to half their health by ducking behind cover for a bit, because it regens really fast, can give you that advantage in those close range fights over people that don't have that. Unfortunately, it does kind of fall off later in the game because it's only while not taking damage, and you know, most of the time if you get in a fight, you're probably not going to be able to dip out of it very well. But it's still pretty good. I'd say it's, you know, the ability itself is not bad. It's better than nothing. It's better than some of the other passives in the game. And then their power. So their power is not super great in solo. It releases a shockwave that can block bullets, but has a very limited path. So only go out a certain amount of, you know, it'll go forward a certain amount. And if it hits like an object, even if that's like a little lip, it'll disappear. So if you're not careful, you can shoot it into like a flower planter that's 2 feet in front of you and you'll get no effect out of it, which can suck. But the ability to block bullets at will is pretty good. And also if you do hit someone with it, it'll push them back and they will take a little bit of damage. Not enough to be significant, but it can get someone out of your face. So the Brute is mainly good at like mid-range fighting, which is okay. It's not great in solo because a lot of times you're going to get in some, you know, you're not, unlike in the group modes, you're not picking your engagements sometimes doesn't happen as well. So, you know, you're not super great. I mean, Shockwave Punch can be good at close range for getting someone out of your face, but even then it's hard to use at close range effectively. But overall, it's not bad. It could be worse. It's serviceable. If you get good at playing the Brute, you can still do good. It's not bad. Now let's move on to the Vandal. The Vandal's D tier. No, Vandal sucks. So let's take a look as to why the Vandal sucks. The Vandal has the same clan power, but they have the passive Adrenaline Rush and the archetype power of Earth Shock. So, again, Soaring Leap. Remember how I said it's good for traversing and not great for combat? This is where it really sucks for Brujah. Because the only thing Vandal's good at is close range combat. And not being able to use your clan power effectively in close range combat sucks. It essentially means that, you know, one of your 3 abilities you get for playing this archetype isn't really helpful in the situations that you're mainly trying to get yourself in. Their passive, Adrenaline Rush, gives moderate damage resistance when in close vicinity of enemies. So this means you basically want to be fighting at close range. And in fact, you basically want to be doing melee with the Vandal. And that's it. Because if you're not in melee range, you can't really use your passive. And it doesn't even tell you how much damage resistance. It's probably like 20% at most, if I had to guess. I'll play the video here. Yeah, it's not even useful. And then the other problem is their power is Earth Shock. It sounds pretty good. Leap forward and crash upon the ground, dealing damage and hurling enemies upward. The issue comes with aiming it. Aiming it is a bitch. It's also super, like, finicky with if it'll actually hit someone. Because it can get blocked by, like, small obstructions in the ground. And it's not even that useful. It does a little bit of damage and hurls them upwards for, like, half a second. Like, it doesn't make them vulnerable enough to, like, actually do something. Sure, it can hold them there if you're trying to, like, push them. And it does have a small, like, leap effect when you use it. Like, you'll leap forward a little bit. You'll, like, jump up in the air and hit the ground. which is okay for closing the gap, but the power's so inconsistent that it's just bad. So overall, and also the fact is you're basically shit. Like the only thing you have in anything other than close range combat is your soaring leap. So that sucks. Yeah. Overall, Vandal shit. I guess I'll also talk about what perk you should run. So I'll go back to the brute. Here the most effective thing to run on the brute is probably the faster reload. Faster reload's always good. Bandoleer's always okay. Survivor's really good, especially in solos, because you know if there's multiple people, the you know, it's very useful. Veteran's always good. Bandoleer's always good. Sanguine's good too. If you there's nothing. Basically, if you're not running Juggernaut, Warrior, Knight, or Melancholic, you're probably okay with the Brute. The Vandal, on the other hand, you want Warrior probably, because you get the melee weapon off the start, which can really help you. You don't have to find one. Otherwise, Athlete's always good. This will help you traverse faster, close the gap faster. You don't want Bandolier. Physicians, meh. You basically want Warrior, Survivor, I guess Sanguine. Sanguine's on the lower end, though. I guess you could also run Choleric, but you typically want to you typically want at least 2 in Sanguine because the passive health regen's so good. So getting Choleric right off the bat doesn't exactly help. Assuming, of course, that Choleric's the orange one. I don't remember the names. I believe Choleric's orange. But yeah. Now, let's move on to the Saboteur. Saboteur is A tier. Let's look at the Saboteur now. So the Saboteur is Nosferatu, which means we've got a new clan power. Their clan power is Vanish. Vanish is incredibly good. You become invisible and move rapidly for a brief duration. Brief duration being about 2 to 3 seconds. But it is significant speed boost, and it essentially helps you get the fuck out of a situation that you want to get out of, which is quite good. Also, if you are blood hunted, it will cause you to not show up through walls for the duration of the invisibility, which can be useful, but it's, you know, it's just something to keep in mind. And then they've got their Unseen Passage and Sewer Bomb. Unseen Passage is underrated, I'd say. People don't use it enough. Basically, if you're crouching, if you crouch for a while and, you know, like, don't try to do anything, you turn semi-invisible. This can be really good if you're, like, sitting, say, like, on a rooftop trying to, you know, like, with a sniper rifle or something, trying to take some longer range shots, or just, like, looking around. You can crouch, and basically you're invisible, because you also don't show up on, like, scans when you're invisible. And so, basically, people will have a really hard time finding you. Also, late game, you can, when the gas is really in, you can pair it with their power and, like, sit in a corner near some sewer bombs and ambush people. It's really good for ambushing people. So, yes. And then sewer bomb, it makes a bomb that it's essentially a proximity mine. And it does surprising amounts of damage. On initial hit, it does like 40, like 35, and then like the first tick of poison will do like 5, an additional like 5 or something. So typically it's doing like at least 40 damage if it goes off. So this is really good for locking down choke points. It's really good for, you know, if you're sitting near one and you ambush an enemy. or it's good for watching your back. It's very, very versatile, and you can have up to 3 out at a time. So, Saboteur, quite good. You typically want to be playing mid-range or... Basically, you can play Saboteur how you want. You can play Saboteur close range as like an ambush class. You can play it mid-range with like... mid/long range with your bombs protecting your back, and like you're using your passive to, you know, sneak around and pop people at a range. Actually, I'd say they're weakest in mid-range. They're best in long range or close range. Their abilities and stuff don't really lend itself well to mid-range fighting. But I will say, another thing to keep in mind with sewer bomb, if you shoot your own sewer bomb, it'll go off. So if there's someone, say, you know, who's near your sewer bomb, but they're, you know, standing behind, like, it's like on a cover, and they're standing like next to it, but they're not going up, and they're shooting at you, you can shoot the sewer bomb next to them, and it'll go off. Also keep in mind, sewer bombs will also go off if a civilian walks within their proximity range. So try not to throw them on the ground near civilians, because you'll just get blood hunted. Also, Athlete's always good. Creeper is really good. I'd recommend running Creeper, because just being able to crouch around faster can be quite helpful. Otherwise, you know, Survivor, Veteran, always good. Yeah. And then let's move on to Prowler. Prowler is higher than Brute in B tier, but for, I guess, I'd say it's good enough to go into A tier. If we look here at the Prowler, got the same archetype power, the passive power of Sense the Beast, and Scouting Familis, whatever. So again, the archetype power, really good. It gets you out of sticky situations. Sense the Beast is quite good, especially against other Nosferatu or other things, because it will, even while they're invisible, it'll still leave a trail. And this is a very visible trail for you. And another really good thing is you can look at an enemy from a distance, like even if you're not the one who wounded them, and you can tell if they're low. So you can like pop them from a distance if you see that they're low because they're leaving a trail. And then Scouting Familius is really good. You can throw this thing fucking miles, and it'll like essentially make an AoE in an area that will reveal any enemies in that AoE. So overall, quite good. Not as like you typically, so you're going to want to play Prowler either two ways. Super close range, not melee though. You're going to want to play close range or super long range, because you have your Scouting Familius and you can throw it fucking miles, and you can essentially scout out places, get yourself a sniper rifle or a marksman rifle, and just go to town fucking sniping people. It's not that's not as effective in, you know, solos, because a sniper rifles is gonna kind of take up one of your slots. If you get pushed, it's not super great, but it can do lots and lots of good shit. Also, you know, Sense of Beast is not as good at a range, but still useful. And then close range, because you can use your Scouting Familius, essentially you can throw it on the ground right near you, so you'll never lose the person you're fighting, and Sense of Beast will make it easier. Sense of Beast, I believe, also tracks downed enemies, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, if you prefer, like, I'd say the mid to long range is also, I guess, Prowler's better at mid range than Saboteur is. The only, like I said, the only issue is you really don't have anything that's going to be giving you extra damage or protection other than your clan power. All your other stuff is pure information gathering, but still pretty good. And now let's move on to Siren. Siren is S tier. Siren is really fucking good in solo. At least in my opinion, I suppose. Yeah, you can tell that I've played Siren the most. So, Toreador, again, a new clan. So we've got their new clan power, Projection Dash. And then we've got Siren's passive, Kindred Charm, and Blinding Beauty. So Projection Dash is by far the best movement ability in the game, because it allows you to throw out a projection which can stay there for up to like 10 seconds or something, and then you can recast the button that you use to project it to instantly teleport to it. This includes, so you can throw this down behind cover, push someone, flash back, or you can use it to push, and it sends you a fucking far ways away. It is really, really good. It's probably, like I said, the best movement ability in the game, because you can use it for retreating, you can use it for going long range, you can use it vertically, you can use it horizontally, you can use it diagonally. It's super versatile. So that's part of the reason Siren's an S tier. The other reason is the other things. The passive, Kindred Charm, is really, really good. Oh, right, I forgot to talk about the Prowler's fucking things here. Athlete, of course. Veteran. That's basically what you want to be running. Bandolier, maybe. But yeah, Kindred Charm. Civilians never care about what the fuck you're doing unless you kill them. This means you can feed in front of them. So you don't have to worry about there being 3 civilians clumped up and you want to feed on one of them. You can just do it. You can feed on down players right in front of them. They don't give a shit. You can use your abilities. You can shoot near them. They don't care. This is really, really good, because if there's people paying attention when you're like using your powers and stuff near them, you know, it makes a little blip on the map. Or if you shoot in front of them, it makes a bigger blip on the map. Like, you just don't get that. You can climb walls in front of them. It's really, really good. And then, of course, Blinding Beauty is a flashbang. And it also deals like 20 damage. That doesn't really matter, though. It flashbangs them for like a second. And this is like pure white if it hits them. It's amazing. Like, holy shit. Because it's also AoE. Like, and you can combine it with your Q to just dash instant explode and then fucking take them out. Siren, you can either go melee or just close range. You're basically not going to want to use Siren at mid range. That is their only downside. I mean, you can. Like, you just have like an assault rifle or something as your, you know, you just have like a close range weapon, and then like an assault rifle or something you can use at mid range. But she's best at close to melee range. And of course, you can do melee. The other great thing is you want to use Marshall on the Siren. Not the Siren, Muse. No, it is a Siren. It is a Siren. So you gain double blood resonances, but Bloodhunts last twice as long. So this means that you have 6 slots for your civilian blood that you can drink at the start instead of 3. But Bloodhunts last twice as long. But Bloodhunts don't last twice as long. You barely ever get Bloodhunted, because unless you shoot a civilian, you don't get Bloodhunted. So this means that essentially you can have a full melee setup with 3 Sanguine and 3 Choleric right at the start of the game. So like if you find like a fucking Katana or Scourge Blades right early, you can just go full melee. Or you can, you know, get some of the other ones too. Like you can get Melancholic or the other one, because they're good to get your, you know, lowering your cooldowns is never bad. But yeah, you want to run Marshall. It's really, really good. Okay. Moving on to Muse. Muse is A tier. I'd say probably the end of A tier there. So Muse has the same clan power, but Muse has Final Act. So the Muse automatically regens faster from downed and can use their projection while downed. And then, of course, Rejuvenating Voice, which enters a restorative state that heals yourself and nearby allies while channeled. So, Projection Dash is incredibly good, as we've talked about before. Final Act is okay. It can save you, especially if there's more than one person fighting around you. You can go over a wall with your projection, and you get up faster. Like, you can do that. But ultimately, it's like, you could never use this theoretically. If you never go down in a match, your passive is literally useless. So it's a good passive though. And then Rejuvenating Voice. So this is quite good. You heal yourself pretty rapidly, faster than even having like Sanguine plus a blood syringe going at the same time. So that's quite good. Also, fun fact, if you just tap it, like you press your ability and press it again instantly, it will heal you for 50. Even though it wouldn't normally heal you for that much in that amount of time. So in a pinch, you can pop it for 50 pretty quick. Though the downside of Rejuvenating Voice is it's pretty fucking loud. People that are near you can tell you're using it. So that is a downside. But yeah, Muse, pretty good. You want to probably be running, like Athlete. Nobility's good if you have problems with getting into Bloodhunts. Sanguine can be good. You don't want Martial on her, though. But yeah. There we go. And finally, the last of the archetypes, the Enforcer, which is probably the best class for solo in the entire fucking game. If we look at the Enforcer here, this is another new one. So they have the clan power of Flesh of Marble. They have the Subjugating Presence as their passive, and Unyielding Charge. Flesh of Marble is crazy. Also, technically, this is the only clan that doesn't have a movement ability as their clan power. They have Flesh of Marble. So Flesh of Marble, for like 5 seconds or something like that, 4 or 5 seconds, makes you invulnerable as long as your offensive actions are not used. So keep in mind, offensive. This means you can still pop a blood syringe, reload your weapon, switch weapons, whatever the fuck you want for the seconds while you're invulnerable. So you can use this to, if you're running in the street, someone starts shooting at you, you can pop it and then they are suddenly not dealing damage. You're in the middle of a gunfight using something, you run out of ammo, pop Flesh of Marble, fucking reload your gun. It's so good. And then their passive is probably the least interesting part of their kit. Nearby enemies have their movement speed slowed. And also, somehow, if an enemy goes behind you, you get a noise notification. I mean, it's anywhere in your passive's range, but it's basically the only time you're not going to see it is fucking if they're behind you. But no one really plays sneaky in this game, so that's not super a problem. But it can notify you if someone's behind the wall near you or something too, which is pretty good. And the slow's not super huge, but it is useful. And then Unyielding Charge. You can dash forward. So this is their movement ability. I don't know why it's not opposite. I guess maybe if they had another Ventru, we'll see. But you rush forward, dealing like 20 or 30-ish damage to an enemy and silencing them. Silenced enemies can't use their abilities. So Enforcer is incredibly good at close range combat because they can go melee or close range. Their Subjugating Presence slows people down. Also, Subjugating Presence has a bigger passive range than Adrenaline Rush. Another reason Adrenaline Rush is shit. But, so they've got, you know, if you're near an enemy, they're slowed. So you're more likely to be able to melee them or shoot them in close range. If you need to, like, reload your, I don't know, if you're using like a shotgun or your SMG or whatever, you just pop Flesh of Marble and suddenly they can't do shit to you for while you're reloading. And you can use your E as either a chase tool or an engage tool. Like, you can even combine your Q with your E because you can Q into E. But yeah, also it silences them so they don't have their movement escape abilities from you. So like, Enforcer is incredibly fucking good. Even if they just had their Q, they'd be incredibly fucking good. They're not, you know, their kit's mostly good at close range, but most combat in this game is close range anyways, in solos. You typically probably are going to want Nobility. Nobility's good if you get blood hunted a lot. Sanguine's really good. Survivor's really good. That's about it. You want like Sanguine, Survivor, maybe Nobility. But yeah. So that is a tier list of all of the archetypes in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodhunt and their tier in solo play. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like. And I will see you next video for the group tier list for the archetypes. And so this is Bastet signing out.